So recently I was invited to play Battle Companies at my friendly local game store, Vlad's Emporium. Now if you live in the central belt of Scotland and you've not visited Vlad's yet, you should get on down and tell him I sent you. This video isn't sponsored, but he's a really good guy and I appreciate his shop very much. Whilst I explain Battle Companies, I'll let you have a little look around inside of the store. Battle Companies is a skirmish version of MESBG with some RPG elements added to it. There are no big heroes, you just have regular troops, you get a leader and 2 sergeants who have a point of might, will and fate each, and all of your troops can level up and gain new abilities, and your regular troops can even become heroes themselves. So it's a lot of fun, it's very killy and the games are pretty short, half an hour, 45 minutes long at best. Now as the campaign progresses you earn influence points which you can spend to buy weapons and armour for your troops, as well as replace guys who potentially die, because whenever a unit dies in Battle Companies there's a chance it's gone forever.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
Now in a decision that I'm sure shocks nobody, I decided to go with Rohan as my army. I named all of my units after Patreon members, and I decided to try and keep a track of their heroic deeds and report back to them. If you want to see yourself in this army, why not join the Patreon? And here they are in all of their glory, Rab's Red Shields. Now my first game of the night was against Fraser, so there's going to be some Fraser on Fraser violence. Just to complicate matters, it might come up later, this was actually game 2, so if any units did die in this game they would magically come back to life, so I can go back in time and play game 1. Fraser had to get up the road quickly after the event to get ready for his own event this weekend or past weekend depending on when this video comes out, so we played the game as soon as we both arrived at Vlad's. Now the scenario we were playing was a show of strength, which is pretty much the Battle Company's version of Contest of Champions. At the end of the game, the leader with the most kills wins it for his team. Now I don't feel particularly proud about how I started this game, but I decided not to move at all. I had 2 bows, Fraser had some blowpipes, but you know, I had a bit of range on him anyway, so I decided just to sit back and let him come to me and my bows and my throwing spears. Now as the battle lines drew closer, Cammy would draw first blood with a throwing spear that he aimed for the leader but missed, hit the guy in front of him and killed him. Now as the battle lines clashed, Fraser jumped out to an early lead, getting a kill with his leader. However, my dice then started to heat up. Not that I microwave my dice or anything like that, I firmly refute those allegations. But the real MVP in game 1 was Dan Marshall, who managed a total of 4 wounds, including wounds saved by fate. However, this wasn't a good thing. Rab needed the wounds and Rab was just unable to roll high enough to kill anything. And to make matters worse, the more models I killed of Fraser's, the closer I was to losing the game. However, in a show of incredible heroism, Rab managed to get 2 more kills just as the game ended to win me the game. There are no VPs in Battle Companies, it's a very simple win, lose or draw. Sadly however, there were some casualties. Now at the end of each game of Battle Companies you roll on an injury chart to find out what happens to the unit that dies in battle. They can either be dead, they can be wounded and have to miss the next game, or they can recover fully. I'll let Fraser explain what happened to Hamish.
Sorry Hamish, Rab can't roll dice.
Now I went straight into game 2 after this without doing any upgrades because technically I'd skipped the game, so I would be playing someone who hadn't had a chance to upgrade their units yet, so it was only fair if I just kept my points until after I'd played my second game. This game was secure the area against Callum. I had Maelstrom deployment, so your guys would come on randomly and you're trying to get as many people as possible into the centre circle, so a fun game, apart from the fact that Callum had Moria Goblins, so he had about 12 units compared to my 7. Not great. Now amazingly, Callum managed to roll 7 4s, meaning that 7 of his units were going to be ganged up on just Ross and Dan, and it was not looking good for them. But I had a plan. My plan was simple: get some of my unimpeded models into the middle of the table and tie up as many of Callum's goblins as I can. Hopefully I'll be able to break him and the game would end in a 1 or 2 before he could get his superior numbers into the middle of the table and outnumber me. However, you've seen me play, you know what's going to happen here. I fluffed every dice possible. I could not get a single kill. I don't know if I got a single kill in this entire game. Actually, it's ridiculous. I fluffed every fight. I was losing people left, right and centre. However, that did mean that I was going to be broken very soon and the game was going to end with my guys in the middle of the table. So I guess I could still win. And sure as luck would have it, I was broken, and on the first attempt at rolling the dice, I rolled a 2 to end the game and lose despite suffering massive casualties. With that game over, it was time to see who would live and who would die as we rolled our injury tests.
No, it's fine. Right, so, who died? Do Dan first. Dan, who is the hero? 2 dice rolls. 4 injured, so he can't fight the next game. But he, that's it. Okay. Dan is injured. Not the worst. Dan's injured and probably right there. Because I'll forget. Dan injured. Cammy.
Me? Hero. My archer get 2 kills.
Cammy's fine.
It's a weird predicament.
We Finlay. Fine. So Finlay's fine. And the only one that matters is Rab in trouble. So 2d6. This could be fucking bad here. My dice are horrible.
Lost in battle.
So yeah, not a good end to that one. What that means is that we'd have to play, or I'd have to play, a daring rescue in my next game to try and rescue Ross, who'd been captured by the enemy forces. Not great. However, I did get to level up all 3 of my heroes, so let's go over what I did with them. I know it sounds strange for Ross to be captured and still level up, but the game says that you still get experience and level up, so we did that. Now, when one of your heroes levels up in battle companies for the first time, they choose a path to go down. Think of this like a class or a job in a generic RPG. My 3 heroes were Rab, Ross and Fraser, so I asked Fraser to phone Ross and ask him what path he wanted to go down, as well as think of one for himself. For me, I decided to go down the path of the knight, which made sense for a leader of a Rohan army. Rab rolled a 5 and was rewarded with +1 courage. Not exactly the worst upgrade, to be honest. Ross then got back to Fraser on the phone and said that he wanted to go down the path of the warrior. I rolled his dice and he rolled double 6s, meaning that he would be able to call a free heroic combat every turn. You know, if we managed to save him from the enemy forces next game. This was going to be really tough. Now, Fraser being Fraser decided that he wanted to be a sorcerer, so he immediately gained access to the mobilise spell on a 5+, as well as an extra point of will. He rolled the dice, got an 8, and then could then pick between an extra point of might or will. We decided to go with might. 2 might and 2 will on a hero in battle companies is pretty good, so we stuck with that. Now, after 2 wins, somehow, I managed to have quite a bit of influence, which is what the currency is in battle companies, to buy extra things. I had to buy Rab a horse because he was path of the knight. I splurged a little bit extra and got him an armoured horse because why not? Then I decided not to spend too much money. I was really tempted to give Ross a horse, but the chances were that he might not make it back for the next game, so I was going to wait to see how that went. Then I decided to do some reinforcements to bring back the missing troop, as Hamish was dead. So I rolled on the Rohan reinforcement table. That was a mouthful. I rolled a 3, meaning that Hamish would be coming back, and this time he'd have a thrown spear as well. So into game 3, and I was trying my hardest to rescue Ross from Jack and his hobbits. I really needed them to survive, not just because he was my hero and I like Ross, but also that free heroic combat return was going to be tasty once I got him on a horse. Now I started off pretty cagey. I kept my archers away on a ledge, just shooting, hopefully trying to kill as many hobbits as possible because they're pretty low defense. Having Rab on a horse was great. It meant that I could charge Jack and he couldn't reach me, so I managed to just hold him there a little bit until it was time to push the offensive. And I'm sure you're wondering, what is that big pink thing? I didn't bring a mounted model, I brought just the models I needed because I didn't really understand how the games were going to go, so I didn't bring reinforcements or mounted models, but Jack kindly allowed me to borrow one of his mounted hobbits, so the big pink hobbit is Rab. Now the fight wasn't exactly going my way. Jack's hobbit archers were actually pretty handy. They managed to strip Fraser of his fate and they were starting to outshoot my Rohan warriors. My only real hope was that Rab was able to tie up Jack's pony and allow Ross to make a sneaky escape. You see, this game ends when Ross either leaves the table or dies. Jack cannot charge or attack Ross unless Ross attacks him first, or his units first. So Ross just has to go off the table for me to win. Now, what makes this more exciting is hobbits move 4 inches. Humans, including Ross, the warrior of Rohan, move 6 inches. So as soon as he is away from a hobbit, that hobbit is not catching him. That was my new plan. Now Ross started making for the nearest board edge, and Jack wouldn't be able to catch him as long as I could kill or tie up his pony for a couple of turns. You could even shoot at Ross because Ross could not be aimed at because he had not entered combat. Jack's only hope was to try and break my army, hoping that then Ross would fail a courage test and run away, which isn't the same as him running off the board edge. I started playing very defensively. I started shielding with all of my troops, hoping to give Ross enough time to get off the table, and sure as hell he did. He managed to get off the table, winning me my 3rd game of the night, and I would be undefeated for now. Then it was just time to roll on the injury charts again.
2 dice. Hero, warrior. Warrior, yep. So, Cammy. He's dead.
Yes! Yes! Didn't kill him sadly, but yes, death.
Dan, I'm not going to use this again. Dan's my champ. He's got 10 kills. 7, loves it. Yeah, he's fine. So, Cammy's
Start of each game, you roll a d6. On a 1, the hero misses that game.
Cammy's dead. Ross was off the board. Rab. So it's Rab. Big hero Rab. Big hero. Who actually has a loss, but we forgot about that.
Roll a 12 and do a fate.
Do a Fraser.
Go on, do a Fraser. 7 recovery. Heals a wound.
Don't have any wounds. Nah, it's fine. I'll pocket it. So Rab is fine.
He lives.
Honestly, couldn't believe my luck. Not only had I won 3 games out of 3, but Rab and Ross had survived by the skin of their teeth to fight another day. With my influence points, I bought Ross an armoured horse so that with that free heroic combat return he would be nigh unstoppable. I also used some points to give Ross and Rab heavy armour so they'd be a bit more tanky. And then I used my last 3 points to roll a reinforcement and I got a warrior of Rohan with a shield. So I'm actually back to my starting army. Cammy has come back from the dead and is straight back in. If you want to potentially see yourself in my army next week when I get even more reinforcements, why not join the Patreon? Whilst I'm here, a huge thank you to all my current patrons who you've seen complete heroic deeds today, and hopefully will continue to do so for the rest of this Battle Companies campaign. As I leave you with a little bit of extra footage, a huge thank you to Jack for organising this, to Vlad's Emporium for hosting it, and all of my opponents for being pretty cool guys on the day as well. And especially thank you to you guys for watching this video all the way to the end. You're the real champs. Do all the good usual YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, leave me a comment, tell me how much I suck at the game, whatever, and I'll see you all next time.